So fundamentally, there's already this misalignment of the people using and receiving the healthcare and the people giving the healthcare aren't the ones setting the costs. At the same time, it's also a system that isn't regulated by government in terms of caps. So things just keep on getting more and more expensive. Like hospitals today are probably the most expensive hotel service. Like if we were to break down that billing line item, it's the room and board. So that needs to fundamentally change.
Hi, my name is David Jiang. I'm a member of the 2022 cohort and a JD student in the School of Law. And I imagine a world where every person can find a community where they can always rely on each other for support and connection.
I'm Longsha. I'm a member of the 2022 cohort and an MD student in the School of Medicine. I imagine a world where every day is touched by the warmth of compassionate care.
Welcome to the Imagine a World podcast from Knight-Hennessy Scholars. We are here to give you a glimpse into the Knight-Hennessy Scholar community of graduate students, spanning all 7 Stanford schools, including business, education, engineering, humanities, law, medicine, and sustainability. In each episode, we talk with scholars about the world they imagine and what they are doing to bring it to life.
Today, we sit down with David Jiang and Longsha Liu, both members of the 2022 Knight-Hennessy Scholars cohort. The two are inspiring current and future leaders in healthcare and the various disciplines of law, business, and policy that make healthcare better and possible. David was born in the Gobi Desert in China and was raised in Rochester, Minnesota. He is pursuing a JD at the law school. Longsha was born in Hong Kong and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. He is pursuing an MD at the School of Medicine. This episode is about friendship, community, and the power of collaboration. Together, we explore their unlikely friendship, which began with a cold LinkedIn message, blossomed over family dinners, and evolved into co-leading the Stanford Healthcare Design Challenge, an ambitious initiative empowering students across the globe to build real solutions for healthcare's most pressing challenges. We'll talk about proposing in Shanghai with 200 LED candles, building tech for the emergency room, and why they think good policy and good food start with empathy. Let's jump in. Hi, everybody. My name is Anson, and I'm a current MD student at the School of Medicine in the 2024 cohort. And we have some very exciting guests with us today to talk about friendship in Knight-Hennessy, which I think is something we haven't touched on as much. And I think it'll be really exciting to see how the cohort comes to build these types of friendships. We're joined by our amazing co-host who you've heard before, Ashley. Ashley, do you want to say hi?
Hi, it's Ashley. As you guys know, I am a 2024 cohort member in Knight-Hennessy and a neuroscience PhD student in the School of Medicine. And yeah, super excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we have our guests give a super quick hello, just so the viewers know who the voices are. David, do you want to say hi first?
Yeah, hi, I'm David Jiang, and I'm a JD student at the law school. I'm about to graduate in 9 weeks, which is incredibly horrific to me, but also exciting at the same time.
Yeah, sounds pretty scary. I think we have many years to go, so
Yeah.
can't relate yet.
Well,
6 more
we'll
years.
visit you. We'll visit you. Yeah.
And Longsha, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi, I'm Longsha. I'm a MD student in the School of Medicine, nowhere close to graduating. So interesting dynamic there.
Cool. It was great hearing all your Imaginal World statements. And before we talk about the world you imagine, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the world you were born into and have experienced so far. So we can start with you, Longsha. Where are you from and what was your journey here?
Yeah, I was born in Hong Kong and then raised by my grandparents for the first 5 years of my life. Both of them were physicians in China. So a lot of my initial role models were people who were genuinely warm, compassionate, and truly wanted the best for all their patients. And they were my role models growing up. So I wanted to be a physician quite early, like a lot of Asian Americans, I suppose. And when I was 5, my parents moved to New Orleans for research. And that's basically where I grew up for most of my life. Katrina hit, so we moved around a bit. I went to Kentucky, Georgia, Ohio, then moved back to New Orleans. and then went to school in Cornell, and then shortly after a research fellowship at Harvard before coming to Stanford. But a lot of my initial interests were always grounded in healthcare and the intersections of healthcare with technology, with research, with business.
Yeah, very cool. I'm just curious. Seems like you've moved around in a lot of different states. Is there a particular place or a particular state that feels like home to you, or you have a special connection to?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely Palo Alto. New Orleans was heat and humidity for most of the year. Ithaca was snow and just cold winters for half the year.
I feel like as a Minnesotan, that's perfect weather for us, isn't it?
Yeah, you're extremely biased as a Minnesotan. And in Boston, it was also like rain and slush. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
So Palo Alto's paradise.
It is paradise.
California.
I can play pickleball. It's fantastic weather. No complaints.
All year round. Yeah,
Yes.
the worst weather we get is rain. So honestly, can't
Exactly.
complain.
Yeah.
Is there anything from your childhood that really catalyzed this interest, like any personal experiences, or is it also just like kind of the role models you had growing up that really kept you on this path?
Yeah, I would say like my motivation as a physician is also there were some deaths in the family that had me feel really helpless. And I think really early on, it was that feeling of I want to do something about this. That if any friends or families get sick, I want to have the knowledge to be able to help instead of just hope that they can get better. And as far as everything else goes, especially my interest in entrepreneurship, it stems more from understanding more about the healthcare system and how broken incentives are and wanting to do something to fix that as well. And I think it's like on a macro scale, I want to change how healthcare is delivered and how we can better approach a more equitable and higher quality healthcare system.
And is that how technology also figures into it?
Yes, I think technology, especially since we're in this inflection point of technology being good enough, and this is already going to be the worst that it ever is at helping transform healthcare.
I'm just curious, like with your, I'm not in the, I mean, I'm in neuroscience, but I'm not in the like medicine field. Like within healthcare, what do you kind of see as like the biggest issues with healthcare delivery? I don't even really know what healthcare delivery, I guess, means. But yeah, maybe you can get a little bit into it. I know we're also going to get into it a little bit more later on, but yeah.
Yeah, I think, first of all, there's too many. But I think fundamentally, especially if we look at the U.S. healthcare, right, the health insurers are the ones paying the money and deciding, how things are set in terms of prices. And it's not the physicians who prescribe the medications or do the treatments. It's not even the patients, because oftentimes we have insurance and we don't barter on the prices and whatnot, or even select what services we're using, right? So fundamentally, there's already this misalignment of the people using and receiving the healthcare and the people giving the healthcare aren't the ones setting the costs. And at the same time, it's also a system that isn't regulated by government in terms of caps. So things just keep on getting more and more expensive. Like hospitals today are probably the most expensive hotel service. Like if we were to break down that billing line item, it's the room and board. So that needs to fundamentally change. Because US is like 18% GDP focus on healthcare, and yet we're not even in the top 5 for quality. And that's really messed up.
To say the least.
To say the least, yes.
Very messed up.
I think, as you mentioned before, a lot of your interests are multidisciplinary, and to solve issues as big as the ones that you're describing requires that. And I think a lot of scholars are drawn to Knight-Hennessy for that purpose. So I'm curious, at what point did you start thinking about, like policy and business and entrepreneurship are critical parts of solving healthcare?
Yeah, I stumbled across it more than anything else, because when I entered college, I was very much a stereotypical pre-med. And it just so happened that my roommate was an engineer. And then a lot of my close friend group were engineers. And Cornell had this phenomenal project team space where students can lead engineering groups and to solve hairy, gigantic problems. And by stumbling into that ecosystem, I then began to realize like the transformative impact that technology then has in terms of like any, amplification of impact. So my first project was with Cornell iGEM. We built a autonomous boat that will constantly sample waters and detect algae blooms. And when we detect algae blooms, we then released a bacteria that we engineered to degrade those microsystems. And I thought back then, wow, that is super cool, but I want to apply it directly into healthcare. So I ended up forming a team of around 25 students called the Cornell Biomedical Device. And we basically just built surgical devices for surgeons because surgeons had a lot of complaints, but not a lot of time. And that was when I began to, really dive into the field, talk to physicians, shadow them, talk to policymakers, understand regulatory. And even now, I think I'm probably at the point of the J-shaped curve where I know enough to realize I know nothing at all. But at least that initial experience helped me realize how complex and complicated this entire ecosystem is, that to make change, you really need to understand each stakeholder, each facet, and at a pretty intimate level.
It's fascinating how much that resonates with me personally, because I'm also very interested in medicine and entrepreneurship. And the way I got into that is exactly through college in a design program with other engineers. And I think it's really cool how once you're put in the same environment with people in different disciplines than you, sort of these interests you never knew you had just spur up and different opportunities come up. And I think that's a really amazing thing.
100%.
Yeah. Why don't we jump over to David? We're going to hit you with the same question. So before we talk about the world you imagine, we can talk about the world that you were born into or have experienced thus far. So where are you from? What was your journey here, David?
Sure. So I was born in the Gobi Desert, sort of in northwestern parts of China. And my family has an interesting history because I'm the 105th generation of my family. And we have a book that keeps track of all of these things. And my family's originally from southern China, but then we got forcibly moved to northwestern China by the Communist Party back in the 50s. And then from there, that's where I grew up. I spent the first 7 years of my life there. And then my parents did their PhD in Japan. So then we moved to Japan for 3 years and then finally ending up in the great state of Minnesota, where I've been since I was 10 years old. And so growing up, I've experienced a lot of different communities, a lot of different cultures. And I think there's a couple of anecdotes. I think the major one is I remember watching the news and then I would be covering some story that happened in the world. But then my mom would be playing the Chinese version of the news, or I would look up like the Japanese version of the news. It's completely different angles, even though it's the same set of facts, right? So from a young age, I realized that there is a distinct perspective in how different cultures impact the way people think. And having grown up in a lot of these cultures, I think that fundamentally influenced who I am in trying to seek a community and build a community that really tries to understand what is it about somebody that makes them unique, makes them tick a little bit. So looking back, I think the common parlance is it takes a village to raise a child, but I am so lucky to have had 3 villages in my life. And now I have the community here, which I think we'll talk about.
Yeah, totally. You've had a fascinating upbringing, as you mentioned, just being all over the world really before the age of 10, right? And from all these perspectives, how does that tie into your career goals and what you want to do in the future? Because actually, funny enough, I guess all of us are in medicine and healthcare in a way. I know you're more on the law side of healthcare and policy, but how does that drive your ambitions and what you want to see in the world?
Yeah. So my path to law is fascinating because my parents are physicians and they're also doctors, and they're, MD, PhD researchers. So it's hard to sort of separate yourself from that world. And I tried really, really, really hard to separate myself. I guess having experienced all of these cultures, I realized that international relations was a field that is possible, that's out there, right? In college, I was a global affairs major, a political science major. But then, so I really wanted to be a foreign service officer in college. But then timing-wise, I graduated in 2019 and I was not going to apply for the State Department, at least not at that time, and sort of lost in trying to find out where exactly I want to do. And then regrettably, my father was really sick at the time. So then I went back home to Rochester, Minnesota. And I think subconscious influence from my parents, I took a lot of electives in health law and health policy in college. And so I cold emailed the chair of the health policy department at Mayo Clinic at the time. And he's like, yeah, come on down. You'll do some insurance analysis, which I know sounds really, really fun. So that was in December of 2019 that I got hired. And within 3 months, we were in COVID research. So from there, my interest immediately shifted to how do you deal with COVID from a community perspective, right? What are the resources that we need? How do we allocate ventilators or masks? Or how do we communicate to the people that masking orders are good or vaccinations are good? And so that's how it shifted. And then I realized that I spent a lot of time trying to convince people with law degrees to do the right thing, right? Like we had the data to support our proposition, but it's hard when the person actually making the decision has no backhand knowledge of why we're doing this. And so I was like, okay, I know I need a JD now because then I can do the right thing in government or as a lawyer in the future. So that's sort of my path. And I think that's also where my path crossed with Longsha's path, because the reason that we met is actually when we were interviewing through Knight-Hennessy, he saw that one of my interests was health policy, and he was like, let me reach out to him. So that's the beginning.
The makings of an amazing friendship.
LinkedIn is a great connector.
So you're talking about this realization that in order to really communicate the research you're finding, you thought that a law degree was necessary. Mm-hmm. Is that because a lot of these findings you were trying to pass off to legislators and they really weren't getting it? I'm curious, what was the logic behind, having a JD at the end of your name, being able to get across to them? Or is it, oh, maybe I want to be a legislator myself, having this healthcare background?
I think it's a combination of both. And I think whatever my political ambitions may be, they're 20 years, 30 years down the line when people are apparently sufficiently ripe to be a politician. But I think sort of the initial thought is having a JD lets you really understand what are the different perspectives in the room, right? Because I think looking at the last 3 years of law school, the key question is, what does the other side think? It's not necessarily what your best argument is. It's what's your best argument contingent upon their best argument. Knowing what your counter arguments are makes arguing for your perspective a lot easier and a lot more convincing, right? And that also goes into a lot of aspects like health policy, right? Because there's a lot of resistance. And I'm sure when you talk to patients, for those of you who are in the med school, there is resistance there, right? But trying to put yourself in their shoes, in the patient's shoes, or in my case, trying to put yourself in the other guy's shoes or the community shoes really help consolidate what the idea of a good policy is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you both for a little insight into your lives, and I hope we can dig into it a little bit more later on in the discussion. But I think, David, you teased us with how the two of you initially met because, I guess, again, LinkedIn is an amazing tool to meet people. So actually walk us through, because all of us have been through Immersion Weekend or the finalist weekend, and I think Ashley and I remember just a year ago how hectic it was to meet everyone, to remember their names, remember faces, hear about what they're passionate about. It's a super exciting experience. What was it like for you guys, and how did that first connection, manifest into the friendship it is today?
So I'm not so y'all had your Immersion Weekend in person. Ours was online.
I see.
So it wasn't like a 8 or 10 hour Zoom session.
On Saturday.
10 hours?
Yeah, it was insane. But before that, right, they released this list of finalists with all their interests, and then Longsha. So my understanding is that Longsha, I have to make fun of him, right? So my understanding is that he wanted to network, right? Which, considering the entrepreneur that he is,
makes sense.
Makes absolute sense. And before this, I don't think anybody has actually directly reached out to me on LinkedIn like this. So he's like, "Hey, I'm also a finalist. I saw your name on the list, let's chat." And I was like, wow, there's just somebody who is incredibly eager and precocious. And I was like, okay, fantastic. And so we chatted for about, I think 45 minutes or an hour or something. And then talked about...
Before or after finalist
This was before Immersion Weekend.
Oh, you're on
online.
top of it.
Oh, he was really on top of things. So he reached out, we had a great conversation, and then we were like, oh, I hope you get in, right? I feel like that's sort of the vibe of Immersion Weekend. It's like, oh man, like I really wish you would get in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for my part, I just found people really cool and I want to get to know them, right? And David seemed really cool on paper.
And then you met him in person.
When you meet him in person, it's a different conversation.
When I met him in person, I think there were three main takeaways. Firstly, I have never met anyone more passionate about Minnesota
Oh, God.
than this guy, right? It's like, this guy just like diehard Minnesotan, which I thought didn't really belong in the same sentence. And then the second one is that this guy is a humongous health policy nerd, which I thought was like really cool because I also geeked out about health policy. So we had a great conversation on that. And I think third was like, this is like a 30-minute Zoom we had set up. And then like, it ended up going way beyond time because like, I think we had really good synergy. And I found myself like really liking this guy in terms of like, wow, I can really get to see myself like being great friends with him. And thankfully that actually happened.
So after finalist weekend, both of you end up coming here. When was the first time you met up in person? Was it at the orientation or do you guys keep talking in the interim?
Initially, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this from a KH perspective. You could edit this out, but I got on the wait list. So not a lot of people know that there is a wait list. I don't think I'm supposed to say that there is a wait list, but you cut this out. So I was like texting him like, oh my God, like I didn't make it. And then he probably ignored me. I'm just kidding. I did not. No, he was really sad. And then once I did get in, we all had the same housing trouble. So we couldn't find housing randomly. And then so we were working through on that. We're like texting each other, what's the best strategy, like who to call, when to call. The first time we met each other in person was on day one. And for the listeners, day one is the first weekend, right before school starts in September, where all the students, all the scholars come in to dining house really for the first time, and then sort of have a day filled with talks and lectures and sort of getting a chance to bond with the community in general. And it sets the tone for what the cohort is going to be like. And I immediately clicked in person with Longsha. And for some reason, it was not just sort of your like small talk relationship. It immediately skipped many, many steps to let's make fun of Longsha for a living.
And David.
Yeah. So that's the vibe. And yeah, so I've been really, really happy to meet him in person and stay friends for all these years.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm curious because, I mean, you guys came in a little bit during some of the COVID times. And I know for my first year so far, there's been a lot of like KH events for us to all get to know each other. And I see kind of my peers around all the time. So I was just wondering for your year, how was getting to know people and also you guys getting closer over the course of the year?
I feel like we were lucky. We had even more events because we also had Rodrigo. I think it was the Rodrigo effect.
What is
Rodrigo was the life and unofficial social chair of our cohort.
Okay.
He like had events like literally all the time. And it's like, I think the first time I got to know a lot of the cohort is like he organized this like very detailed baseball trip. So literally had all the logistics in a very organized PDF. And that's like week one of like getting to know people. And then like anytime he sees you, right, he'll yell "Pana," and then it's like it's so wholesome, like friend in Spanish. He was like so wholesome. Well, no, he still is still wholesome. Yeah, like, and then it's like we had all these like fire pit, like sort of evening sessions.
A lot of outdoor activities.
Were you allowed to be in Denning? Or
we were allowed to be in Denning,
okay.
And then that was also the first year Denning offered lunch. And I think it's like the entire philosophy was like bonds are made through breaking bread. So they're going to provide the bread so we can make the bonds.
And I think part of that too is as sort of people are still masked up at the time, it's really hard to like get to know somebody through that. And, it's totally understandable why we had to have a masking policy. So what we did then, at least what I tried to do is reach out more through like hosting dinners at my apartment. I mean, like a really, really small setting. So we would get like 2 or 3 people because my apartment is a studio and we only fit 4 people, including myself at a time. And so I started to invite different people for dinner, and Longsha and his fiance, soon to be wife, were frequent
Wow.
guests at my apartment. I think that's also how we bonded. Sort of like the lack of, maybe not the lack, but sort of the pressure of not having a lot of events at Denning during that time really sort of then gave us room to create other events in the community. So that's what we did to compensate a little bit.
Like David didn't do his cooking justice. Like if you look beyond the nerdiness and the Minnesotan like pride thing, like he is actually probably the most well-rounded person I've met in terms of like so many different talents. Like,
And he plays in the KH band as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
so he's a phenomenal cellist. I mean, huge like classical music nerd. Like he will just be like, if you see him at dining, he's just like closing his eyes, like conducting in the air while wearing his headphones. And he's now a seasonal ticket holder of like the Minnesota Orchestra or something.
Wow.
Humongous nerd. But in addition to that, he sings opera and he sings it well. He is also a phenomenal chef. So like his fancy dinners that he does, like I'm getting one tonight actually, he creates like a menu for it, right? So there's going to be an appetizer. It is like all gourmet, all like nicely and creatively plated. And then like a really, really fantastic like entree.
Yeah, we have a symbiotic relationship where he comes to dinners and then mostly Kristen, his fiance, makes dessert and he doesn't do anything. He just shows up and eats. So I suppose
taste tester.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably the most important job. So I think looking at the community and sort of like the other community that I belong to on campus, which is the law school, right? I think Knight-Hennessy serves mostly as an escape of some kind in the sense that I think, I'm not sure how it is in the med school, but law students are, I'm trying to think of a good word, but like law students sometimes are really competitive on certain things. And then especially in the first year, the first quarter, those of you who are trying to get into law school, I think you should be prepared for this, which is that you're taking the same set of classes at the same time with the same 30 people in your section every day for at least the first quarter, and then 2 or 3 more classes in the winter quarter and the spring quarter. So what that creates is this like kind of weird high school vibe where you're taking the same classes, you're surrounded by the same people,
All day,
news
every day.
all day, news travel instantly throughout the group. You know what people are sort of gunning for, right? Like you know that somebody's going for a job that you also kind of want, or you know, you sort of know like, oh, somebody might have a better grade than you. So like there is a little bit of that stress. I think it's a lot better here than some of my other friends in other law schools, but that still puts this pressure on you just solely at the law school. And what I really appreciate about Knight-Hennessy and people like Longsha is when I'm here at Denning House, I don't talk about law school, right? Like unless we have a debate with some people about like the generalities of some law or policy, or we talk about class, but we don't really talk about like, oh, what job are you applying for? Or like, hey, let's talk about clerkships, right? Like it's a place where you could be yourself fully in a community that's in a public place. So I really appreciated that aspect of Knight-Hennessy. And through there, I just want to give back to this community a lot more, right? And so we're hosting different events. I think that's sort of a lot of our motivation. And there's a music night that's coming up in May that y'all should all attend. And so that's sort of where I come from on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because med school is the same way. Like, and you mentioned day one being September for KH. Like, med school already started a month before, so it was a month of hearing about Anki cards and STAP and clerkships and specialties, and being able to just hear him geek out about health policy is actually a breath of fresh air. And I'm not going to let this go. Going back to the previous topic, because I just made this man a hinge.
Do not advertise on.
For those listening, right? This man can serenade, can cook gourmet meals, can play cello, can also do calligraphy. Although I don't know if that's a plus necessarily.
It is a plus.
That
I've
is a
seen
plus.
it. We've
Yeah.
seen it at the
100%.
Chinese New Year event. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
and you can banter with this man all day long, and he's also pretty decent at pickleball too.
God,
Yeah.
I
Checking
okay.
off all the boxes.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so you just unleashed the nuclear.
Oh, no.
I have a lot. I'll get there, but yeah, we'll
I
come
think that
back
was
to
more marshmallow.
Yeah, I love that for you. I love that you have this relationship. But also, now you've opened a can of worms, and now I'm curious how. So you have a fiance.
Oh, yes.
And you have a wedding coming up.
Yes.
How has that been? Have you also been helping him with certain things, like he's been helping you with Hinge?
David has been the most instrumental. The proposal wouldn't have happened without him, and I can get to that story soon. He's also the officiant and co-best man for the wedding. Wow. He's also going to be helping with some of the creative elements during the planning itself. But yeah, I guess like with proposal, do we want the short version or long version?
Take your time. I want all the details.
Yeah.
The viewers want the details.
Yes. We got permission from Kristen.
Yes. I was going to say, let the record show I already got permission.
Made the record reflect.
Let's hear this. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so my fiancée, Kristen, is a woman of many different demands.
Oh my gosh.
Which, a proposal.
She's a really nice person.
She's a really nice person.
She's a really nice, lovable person.
Great way to start.
Yes.
But she has a few criteria when it comes to a good proposal. Number one is it has to be a surprise, right? And it's not just a surprise like you wake up the day of, or even it's like as you walk up to the site of the proposal. She wants it to be instantaneous, not like you're walking up, you already see it, and it's like you already were surprised. Now it's like at the moment of, you have to be more surprised, right? And then the second thing is like, of course, hair and nails have to be done nicely. And it has to be...
You make her sound like such a vain person. No, she's
All of this is making sense to me so far.
And then it's also like, it has to be very creative. And the hard part of that is that she loves Instagram, right? So all the creative proposals she's sending me, and now that's the new bar. So like with those three things in mind, it becomes quite constraining in terms of what I can do. And so basically I set up a 9-month plan. So this is in collaboration with David. So with David, to keep it a surprise, we created an encrypted group chat. So basically it auto-deletes messages within 15 minutes.
Is that a thing you can do on
Facebook Messenger? There's like a function for it, right?
Okay.
So basically the instant we see the message, it deletes within 15 minutes.
Beautiful.
And then with one of her friends, I was sending her friend like ideas about the setup and the ring designs through a PowerPoint. So basically, the first few slides, if you look at that preview, are research figures, because Kristen believes I'm doing research collaboration with that friend. And then literally in the notes section, we're like messaging each other. And then there's like, the last few slides are like the actual designs. And then I got Kristen's like mom's blessing ahead of time. But basically, her mom was so excited. She was texting me ideas like every so often. And it's like, each text like 10 different texts. So basically, I changed her mom's name on my phone such that Kristen doesn't get suspicious as to why her mom is texting me all the time. So those are like the initial steps on just trying to keep it a secret, right? And the vision was David and I were planning like an Asia trip where we were going to hit Japan, Korea, and China, and like 3 cities each in each of those countries. And I was thinking, when in Korea, Kristen will do what Koreans do, which is hair, nails, and everything, right?
Of course, yeah.
So it's the perfect natural setting to then, be able to propose either then or afterwards.
Right.
So that was number one. And then number two was, it happened that January 1st, 2024, we would be in Shanghai. And January 1st, 2024 is very fortuitous on the Chinese calendar. Because it's like, the vain thing is like, it's January 1st, like 1/1 on a Monday, another one. It's also the first day of the year, so that's great too. And in 2024 adds up to 8, which is fortuitous in terms of as far as numbers go. And the vision was then David had gifted us like the presidential suite of the Shangri-La Hotel in Shanghai.
Wow.
So
David.
that hotel,
What a gift. Oh my gosh.
Can I go to Asia with you?
Yeah. On the left side of that hotel, you see like the entire Shanghai night view. On the right side is like the river view, right? So it was like the perfect setting to set up basically the vision of you open a door, it's a line of candles and roses and petals that leads up to a I love you sign, will you marry me? There will be like glittering lights and sparkles like on the window, and then basically a lot of balloons. To create the setup for this, we did a few things. So David had booked a standard room because like across all of Asia, like it's just him sleeping on one bed and me and Kristen another in the same like hotel. And basically we had booked a normal room in that Shangri-La hotel. So Kristen was under the impression that we're all just staying there. And then the setup. So we had contacted the hotel managers. They were fully in the know 6 months in advance. Wow. And basically, they knew like whatever packages we order to send it to the presidential suite, not the normal room. And then we need time to set up. Right. So I booked me and Kristen a couple spa in that hotel and told the spa managers to just keep her there as long as possible, giving her the illusion that I'm in her room next door. And the whole time is basically David setting up, and then basically I would leave that spa place to go also set up.
Let it be known that he did not book me a massage at that place. So that the entire time I'm out shopping at the mall, and I'm like, trying to assemble the M in the "Marry Me" sign, right? Like it's just like, well, what is happening? And I had a moment of like, is this where my friendship has taken me to yeah?
No spa?
You're saying symbiotic relationship before.
Exactly.
He's cooked for you.
Yeah, and what have you done for me so far?
Wow.
Right?
I booked him a Michelin star restaurant in Shanghai, because then basically right after the spa is like she's not dressed the part, because like you're just dressed in comfortable clothes. So then we were like, how do we then get her to dress up for the proposal? So I found a Michelin star restaurant, took them there, and basically on the way back it was like, how do we get her to not be suspicious when we go to the other room?
Yes.
So we came up with a lot of different ideas. So the first one was, there's a water leak. And I literally copied the hotel manager's signature. David changed the info from my email to that hotel's info.
And we wrote it in Chinese too.
And we wrote it in Chinese.
Yeah.
And schedule sent it for 8:08 p.m., which would be around the time that we're on the Uber back to the hotel. And being like, from the hotel manager, we're so sorry, a water leak happened. We already moved your stuff. This is your new room. It's a free upgrade. So that was option one that we already had in motion. But then I was like, does this story actually sound that plausible? It's like a really great hotel. Would they really be having this issue? So then we utilized David's extraness. David's known to be very extra with his, with his gestures and everything. So we were like, David, why don't you just do this as a surprise for us, as, it's Christmas time, or like a late Christmas gift. So basically, David then told Kristen, I have a surprise for you. Wait here. So basically, that whole time, David's actually going upstairs to the presidential suite, turning on each of the candles.
So what
Tell
happened
us your
was,
perspective.
Yeah. So what happened was, this man had a wild idea of buying 200 individual electric candles.
Beautiful, as it should be.
There's it looked amazing, and I'll show you pictures of it later. It looked absolutely amazing. But the problem is, the battery doesn't last for that long, right?
And we weren't sure how long it would last.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then if we turned on the candles before dinner, we were afraid that it was going to die, right? So I was like, okay, I have a surprise for you. I went upstairs. I'm in my suit, by the way, at this point. And I'm crawling on my knees, turning on every single candle. And then Longsha is texting me are you done, bro? In the meantime, I'm again laboring, turning on every single candle. I'm just like, dear God, again, what have I gotten myself into? Finally, everything's turned on, everything's set, and then I went downstairs to get them.
Oh, and David also played an instrumental part in terms of carrying the ring. Because even the ring itself, I found a time when Kristen was driving to her work in southern San Francisco, and I biked to the ring store to pick it up. So that way she wouldn't be suspicious, right? And then I handed the ring to David so he could bring in his camera box.
I almost forgot that camera box.
Yeah, you almost forgot that camera box.
Yeah,
that would be
right before leaving for Asia.
Yeah.
I'm glad you remembered it.
Exactly.
And there were also a few more complications too. Chinese customs rejected all the Amazon orders I sent to the hotel because it exceeded the $500 limit. And basically it got flagged and returned. And then this is we were already in Japan at that time.
Had to emergency come up with some way to get more supplies there. So it was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
But yeah, so he now is about to get married, and since he embarrassed me publicly, I will embarrass him. Which is to say, I have the honor of being his best man / co-best man, / officiant. I have to give a speech. So if you, listener out there, know Longsha and know him from his past life, please email me with your anecdotes about him in the past, and then I will gladly put it into the speech. So
give them your email. Give the audience your email.
You could find me at dajing@stanford.edu.
Wonderful.
Yes, someone needs to record this speech so I can see it afterwards. I'm so curious. But also, question: how was the Michelin star restaurant?
Oh, it was really good.
It was fantastic.
So good.
It was fantastic.
What kind of cuisine was it?
It was Southern Chinese, right?
Southern Chinese and Cantonese. Yeah.
Oh, Cantonese.
Yeah.
I'm Cantonese.
We'll hit you up on that. But I think hopefully this conversation sort of give you a dynamic of like what our relationship is like. He wants me to mention this, which is sort of after we became friends, one of the things that we realized is like none of us really like cooking on the day-to-day basis. And part of the community aspect, I think, is that we really wanted ways to just hang out on a more casual setting, right? So then Longsha, Kristen, and we would do family dinners, which is to say on Mondays, I'll cook, Tuesdays, Kristen will cook, and then like Wednesdays, Longsha will cook, and then we'll just like rotate. And so for every dinner, we'll just go to somebody's place, right? So not only did that reduce the workload burden on sort of like the day-to-day grind, it really prevented me from like feeling really lonely, right? And we got a chance to like bond a little bit more, to meet more people, because we would like invite different friends to come in for family dinners. So
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I'm very jealous.
That's so wholesome. I love that.
I think after this episode, I'm going to ask you guys to show some pictures of all the different family dinners. But
Sounds good.
But thank you for sharing that. And I'm very excited for Longsha getting married and you to officiate.
That was sorry.
No. Go.
That was an amazing story, and you put so much effort in, and amazing job. I hope Kristen loved it. I know she did.
She ended up crying during it. Then I cried, and David was crying, and it's just like three of us were all crying.
The marker of a good proposal is everyone is crying. That's how you know you did it right.
Exactly.
Longsha, I remember you saying that for the proposal, one of the requirements is that she had to be surprised. Was she surprised?
She was very surprised because I had set up a lot of red herrings in the 9 months leading up to it. So I had found like the most popular places in the Bay to propose.
Yeah.
And I took her there each time to desensitize, right? Each time it's like we dressed up for it. I packed a picnic or ordered food to set up there. And each time, right, it didn't happen. So it was just getting her acclimated to that. And then the other thing that I told her is I would only propose to her after I get both of her parents' blessings. And when I was at her place before the proposal, I had got her dad's blessing, but her mom was ill at that time. So didn't get her blessing in person. But what she didn't know was I got her blessing through FaceTime.
Yeah.
So she was convinced that it would happen probably next time I go to her place, like after Chinese New Year. So this would be like all after the actual proposal date. And it's also like, anytime she says like, well, you proposed in Asia, I was like, there's no way. How am I going to set that up? Too many logistics, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's awesome. I just know that every time you were doing one of these red herrings, she's probably blowing up her friend group chat.
Most likely.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for sharing that. I found a lot of fun listening to that. But let's jump over to how your friendship has come together to work on some of the projects that come out of Knight-Hennessy. For the viewers who don't know, one of the big parts of the programming here is the KHeystone projects, where scholars across different disciplines can come together to work on issues. And incredibly enough, the two of you have worked on one together, a really successful one, and it has had some really interesting events that have been put on. So could you guys talk a bit about what it is and how it came to be?
Yeah, I think fundamentally for us, we wanted there was a gap that we saw between the ideation of an idea that has legs to its implementation. And what I mean by that is that far too often, and I would take a tangent out here to say that at Stanford, we're quite privileged, right? There's all these programs that can help incubate your ideas, support you on the very fundamentals such that you can translate it. There's the biodesign process, the Lean Launchpad, Startup Garage, right? They all have different concepts that at the end of the day, more or less are the same ideas in terms of like iterating, getting customer discovery, testing all of those out, and then building that business model canvas and product market fit. But that's not the case for a lot of other students out there who don't have the school resources or the ecosystem to help support their ideas. And what we wanted to do with Stanford Healthcare Design Challenge is create that ecosystem for them, such that no matter where they are in their journey, at which university, where they are in the world, they can have the resources through our network and our ecosystem to build out those ideas. And what we wanted to do is then create a model that kind of transcends hackathons or case competitions, because realistically, those competitions rely on predisposed knowledge. You come in having those experiences, and then over a weekend or 2 weeks, you hack it out. What we want to do is you come in with your own passions and your motivation more so than anything else, and we'll help you build out your idea and we'll help you go to market. So we had the structure for our last year launch was we sourced a theme that we thought was nationally applicable. So that theme was there's a lot of patients living out there with social justice health issues, and they don't have the best engagement with healthcare due to a lot of those stressors. So fundamentally, how do you create incentives or solutions to help increase their engagement in healthcare and subsequently their outcomes? And we created a lot of tracks. Like you could do this from a data education point of view. It could be a health policy idea. It could be a technology that you introduce. And from that, we created a whole month that we called the Open Learning Series. So we brought in speakers twice a week to just talk about this issue, and then it's open to the whole public. You don't have to be a contestant to participate. And we just talk about why does this still exist within health systems, our health payers, our health government? What are the gaps that you still see? What have solutions done so far, and why haven't they worked? And then there's always time at the end for students to then ask them questions. And then we had a 2-week that was focused on our contestants themselves. So we brought in a lot more, around 60 mentors, where they could meet with and learn from, including health system CEOs. And the whole goal is to help them iterate and test their ideas and assumptions. And that ultimately accumulated in a pitch day where we had the former head of the FDA for digital health. We had C-suites of health systems. We had C-suites of nonprofits. And, the whole ecosystem was kind of there to support and evaluate. And for the two teams that we then supported afterwards, it's around 3 months of follow-up support. Yeah, and that went quite well, and we can talk about
where
that
are they now.
Yeah. So before we get to where they are now, I just want to say how influential I think the Knight-Hennessy community has been in this process, because there's not a lot of places in the world where you could have such, I think, high caliber of talents gathered into one place to try to solve a problem, right? And I think part of the Keystone nature is to get as much sort of cross-discipline talents together to solve a common problem. And so through this project, right, I got to work with Longsha, who's a med student. I'm a law student. We have people in bioengineering. We have people in business, sort of all collaborating together on a single project. And I think that is, from a more academic or professional standpoint, what Knight-Hennessy brings to the table is this idea that you can find out common language between the different programs, because I feel like otherwise it's very siloed. Some of the best conversations I've had in this house, right, it's not necessarily, they are the sort of the joking around daily conversations, but I've learned a lot from my friends who are theoretical physicists, right? And they would explain to me what gravitational waves are. There's topics out there that I don't fully understand, and having people explain that to me in a really friendly way is fantastic. And then again, working with different people through Keystone. So
yeah, I feel that every day. I think it's a very comfortable environment to ask questions, because I think inherently we know that we all are interested and are knowledgeable in our own spaces and don't necessarily expect other people to know that. And we're open to answering questions about it, and vice versa. And I think that really creates the environment for things like, the Stanford Healthcare Design Challenge to exist. It's because of this openness and the ease of asking questions that you can start thinking of questions together, right?
Yeah.
And how to solve them. And I think you want to talk about what the teams are doing now. I'm very excited to hear.
So one of our winners is Team ELA, and I think they were motivated by personal experiences, and they identified, I think, a really crucial gap, which is health literacy. Doctors speak, and I know you two are physicians, but doctors speak a different language, I think, than most people. And a lot of health policy documents or insurance documents are written not necessarily for the common person, right? And so this team identified that critical gap, and they made an app, an intuitive app that provides real-time education and assistance to help empower patients to understand what are these terminologies and how to understand either their benefits or their treatments or whatnot. So from a health policy perspective, that is critical, right? It's not just about finding the right cure. It's about having people understand and having people the ability to take control of their healthcare needs. That's super important, right? I think a lot of people feel helpless in the face of the healthcare system, but I think the way to resolve that helplessness is with education. And so increasing health literacy was such a fundamental idea, and I love their solution.
And I think even more heartwarming, so this team actually won our grand prize. And the most heartwarming thing for me, though, is that this team is 3 undergrads. And
Freshmen.
not even undergrads, they're freshmen. And they came in with a really fresh perspective because they saw their families struggle with this and they wanted to do something fundamentally to help everyone. And they are now part of a top European accelerator, further pushing their idea along. Wow. They're probably one of the best examples that we could ever give. And this is completely unintentional because judging was purely based off a very objective panel, right? But these are the type of people that we want to support. Those who are bright-eyed, passionate, young, have ideas, but don't know how to develop that idea to next step, that we could really help support them in their journey. And the other team, another example that we could give, they were runner-up in our challenge last year, and they identified food insecurity. So they integrate with the electronic health record, identifying people at risk of food insecurity, and then try to help bridge that gap by identifying services that they can roll those patients into. Because I think one of the frustrations that we have in the healthcare system is, and this also relates to the work I do in my startup, is that there is no place that's truly a right for healthcare outside of the ER. And what that has then turned into is that when people need food or even housing and electricity, they go to the ER because the ER becomes a safety net. And I think this is a humongous issue that really needs to be addressed. And especially with rising unemployment rates, this is going to become more pressing than ever. And this team, they're a group of master's students that had experience in healthcare before, but no idea of how to take it on the business side. So we were really helping support them on the business elements of their idea.
No, it's incredible how the program sounds like it is able to identify areas of strength for each of the teams, right? Like for the first team you mentioned, very bright eye, really fresh perspective, but you need to give them sort of the mentorship and the opportunity to take it forward. And then for this team, thinking about more the business aspect and being able to facilitate that as well. I think last point on this Keystone project, I'm curious about your personal experience, sort of that drove you to understand the need to bridge these ideas and problems to actual solutions. So maybe we could talk a little bit about your startup and how that influenced, the development of this project and collaborating with David on it.
Yeah. So my startup is called Vita Innovations, and we're a digital health platform to really help offer data solutions for emergency rooms that are overworked, overcrowded, and very understaffed. And the initial idea, we weren't even digital health starting out. So the initial idea came out in 2022 when my friends and I went to a hackathon in New York City. And that was the first hackathon I ever attended. I was like, there's free swag, like Cornell's busting us over, like, let me do it. And it was a really, really fun experience. And the idea we introduced at that time is, I was just seeing ERs get overcrowded, or just starting to realize that emergency rooms are quite overcrowded. And the whole concern there is that when patients are waiting a long time for care, the vitals that we captured when they first entered is only a snapshot that they could deteriorate quite rapidly and no one would notice. And there's far too many news articles out there today of people just quietly dying in that corner because the ER is too overworked and overwhelmed to have seen that need. So what we want to do is, since mask mandates were just beginning to be a thing, could we create a smart mask that any patient, when they first walk into the ER, could wear? And we would track their heart rate, respiration, O2, and body temperature. And then we created a software that then basically algorithmically, depending on the deterioration of that patient, then flags it to your nurse to see. So this idea ended up winning the grand prize at the hackathon. And the judges there were like, hey, we want to see this as a product. So after a month of really debating and pondering like career life decisions, my team and I decided to do it. And that's how Vita Innovations was initially born. From a hackathon with a hardware idea that was to help patients in the ER.
Do you want to talk about who your co-founder is?
And my co-founder is my fiance. Yeah. So we won the hackathon. then started dating, and then company was born after that. All within the span of like 2 months, basically.
Yeah.
We had a lot of traction. So it's like we were winning competitions left and right. We had a lot of ER directors emailing us saying, when can you have this ready? And we just built too slowly. Each PCB iteration that we did took a month or two because of supply shortages, but also our own inexperience in the field. So by the time we had the clinical trial data on it, we were entering a receding market. Because mask mandates were receding, no one really wanted to wear masks anymore. They were all fatigued about it.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of having a nose bridge that we could clip onto a surgical mask wasn't as attractive anymore. So in 2023, we made the whole pivot into a whole digital health platform to help not just a point solution in the ER, but the whole spectrum. And just really quickly as a stat, it's in California over the last decade, we've seen the fall and decrease of the total number of ERs, around a 19% nursing shortage. And the consequence of that is for any patient now looking for emergency room care, there's fewer ERs you can choose from, and there's fewer nurses that you can actually interface with. So consequently, that means there's more time you spend waiting and more data gaps that then occur from it. And specifically, there's 3 major gaps we saw. The first one is triage. When you first come into the ER today, a nurse sees you for on average 90 seconds. They take your name, age, sex, chief complaint, your vitals, and then maybe 1 or 2 subjective questions. And then they give you a score from 1 to 5 that determines how severe this condition is and ultimately how long you'll be waiting. That score is wrong 1 in every 3 because we don't have enough information to base their condition off of. So we want to do something about that. And then the second thing is there's always new policies coming out. And for the most part, nurses are getting their job descriptions expanded above any other profession. So in California, they now have to do mental health screenings. They're doing social determinants of health screenings, geriatric evaluations. All of these screenings take up time that's manual and repetitive that doesn't require a nurse to truly do. So we want to take that off their shoulders. And the third aspect is really that social determinants of health. Because the ER is utilized as primary care for some patients, is utilized as source of food and housing, there has to be a better way because that's not how our healthcare system should be operating. And a lot of it is how can we reduce that readmission rate by connecting patients to more sustainable resources to address their food, housing, and transportation needs. So we're building out a matching platform that basically, while the patient's then waiting for care, we can find resources near them and begin connecting and registering them for it.
Yeah.
So our whole platform now is if a patient comes in, we do their whole triage assessment in 5 minutes or less. We send that information directly into the health record, such that when a nurse then sees them, they have more information. With that better information, they can have a better triage accuracy and better decisions afterwards. And then while that patient's then waiting for care, those 1 or 2 hours, we're doing all their assessments up front as opposed to later on in the journey. So that way we can find the information up ahead of time and then begin coordinating all those services.
Gotcha. Wow. That sounds like you're targeting a lot of really big issues in healthcare and very much needed. I mean, I can see how the journey through that really inspired you to, think about, okay, there's other innovators out there and there's so many problems that I experience. And
yes,
maybe there's different pain points that can help address it.
Yeah. And even if we go back to that hackathon itself, I really loved the ideas that the second, third place finalists had. But after the hackathon, there's nothing. And it's if we look at the stat over time, it's less than 7% of hackathon projects live beyond the hackathon itself. And we then see the tragic loss of a lot of promising ideas that just die in utero.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So we're running up on time, but before we wrap up this topic, what's next for the Stanford Healthcare Design Challenge? Do you want to give a quick
we're going global, right?
Ooh,
that's the goal. So last year was sort of our test year where we're trying to do a proof of concept. And this year, we are trying to expand to sort of global universities and make a more global outreach. So if you are interested in the Stanford Healthcare Design Challenge, come visit us on our website. Do you know the link? Do you have the link?
Just search up Stanford Healthcare Design.
Yeah. So you could just Google that. We're working with currently developing new topics and new prompts for teams to solve. But I think it is unique in the case design / sort of case competition world where we don't just give you money for it at the end or announce you as the winner. We will support you in the back end. And as Longsha said, a lot of ideas die in darkness. But we're really trying to sort of throw a light and cast a light to say, here are all the resources that we have for you to take your idea to completion. I think as a law student, like that's something that like we do as a profession, right? Like my profession as an attorney is to help people, guide them through a complex world and help them formulate a solution. And I think that's why the challenge is very personal to me.
I like to say that the design challenge has a product iteration of a hackathon, the length of a case competition, and a longitudinal tail of an accelerator. Fundamentally, it's also we have already sourced the problem from all the different stakeholders that this is something they genuinely deeply care about. So that way, it's like contestants are coming in already with that in mind. And yeah, it's like, as Dave was saying, we're going global. So this is literally any student, any university from anywhere. And you can be an undergrad or graduate student. As long as you're a student, we would love to support you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, listeners out there, you know where to look up, where to Google. We're at the end, and we like to end up with a couple like rapid fire questions, just very short answers. Feel free to refuse if you don't want to, but one of the traditions we like to do is ask about the improbable facts. So for those of you who don't know, if you apply to Knight-Hennessy, one of the application questions, I think almost since inception, is like, give us 8 improbable facts about yourselves. And I think scholars have a lot of fun sharing what those are that they put on their application. So think of one juicy one. We'll start with Longsha. Share, if you want to share one of your improbable facts.
We could probably share one about each other. Like at this point, I will share for Longsha, I suppose. But Longsha's improbable fact is that he is a gifted chess player and could play multiple games blindfolded at the same time.
Wow. How many have you played simultaneously?
I've only done 2, and it's like it's gotten worse over time.
Yeah. Considering I don't even know like how the knight moves.
Oh, same.
Yeah, so like I mean that's quite a step. Do you want to drop your ELO score real quick?
No. I'll pass on that. But I really got into 4-player chess. So chess.com now has like this 4-player chess mode. It's like you play 3 other players at the same time. So it's like a massive like chessboard.
So earlier on, he called me the nerd. I'm just putting
Just
throwing
the fire back.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, David's planning to do like healthcare litigation law. And if you ever see his hand on the left side or the right side, there's actually a massive scar. And it's because med students messed up the suturing on that scar.
Oh, no.
I'm looking at you, med students. Oh, God. Be careful. There's cost to your messing.
Yeah. So he's coming for us, basically. He likes to joke that, like, you know, after I get my office, he'll just stand outside my door and hand out his business card to my patients. Hopefully he'll be representing me.
Strategy.
But, you know,
yeah. Well, that's the first time we've had people give facts about each other. So that's a very refreshing thing. I think speaks to how close you guys are with each other, which I think is very cute. But okay, last question. What advice would you have for other people who are applying to Stanford and Knight-Hennessy? Not super sure when this episode is coming up, but we just actually had finalist weekend. I think the new scholar cohort's going to be announced very soon, probably right around when this episode comes out. So for those people who are interested in applying to the next cohort, what advice do you have from your own personal experience?
I just have to say, I think talking with a lot of scholars in this community, the sort of common theme has been they want to make an impact in whatever shape that is. And I think hopefully throughout the series of podcasts that we've been doing, the listener sort of you're able to tell sort of the individual passions that we all have for various topics. And so I would just say pursue those passions in whatever shape it takes and whatever community it takes. And one of the criteria I think that Knight-Hennessy has is civic mindedness, right? Civic mindedness. And a lot of people think, oh, I need to be in leadership positions or I need to like work in government, be a lawyer or a lot of those lines. But I think the most down to earth advice that I could give about that is civic mindedness happens in the everyday life, right? It happens in not just at the global leadership level, but it happens in sort of the everyday conversations that you have. What kind of personality, like, do you have a warm personality? And I think this is where this community here has such a profound impact on me because I've met the gold standard for what does it mean to be a kind person? What does it mean to be a warm person? Somebody who really knows and will empathize with you about your daily life, but also function at such a high level. And I think that's also the perfect description for Longsha from time to time. So that's the advice that I have. And also please do apply, right? Like don't rule yourself out. because like if you don't apply, there's 0% chance of getting in. But if you do apply and sort of put in a good faith effort into your application, you can join us here, and we welcome to see you.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think I always thought to myself, you have to apply like you're gonna win it, or else it's very hard. So definitely do try apply and put all your faith into it.
I think to add on to that, when I applied, I had already wrote like 92 pages of like medical school like essays, right? And then it's like applying was kind of like getting a lottery ticket, because like it had the same probability probably. And it's like I had like no confidence I got in, but it was just like it would be like such a nice what if, right? That rainbow of like, what if I got it? I didn't even check when they gave the semifinalists, because I was like, there's no way. And then like literally I checked like the next day, because it's just like time to see the rejection. So yeah, definitely do apply, because like you never know. And I would also highly encourage you, the listeners out there, if you're looking to apply, look beyond the scholarship, look beyond the leadership programs, look into the community. Because I really do want to double down and echo David's point. The strongest value that Knight-Hennessy has ever given me is the people I've met here, the memories I've made, and the laughter that came along the way. And that's something that if I could do ever again, like, didn't have to be, it could literally just be applying for that community, and I would do it 100%.
There's an old saying in Chinese, it says, 三人行必有我师焉, right? It means when you walk with three people from different aspects of life, you're bound to find a teacher within that group of three people. So here we have over 100 scholars per year, and you're bound to learn something. You're bound to discover something new about the world, about yourself. And I would highly encourage that. And if you have questions about application, both I think Longsha and I are happy to answer via email.
Thank you for the beautiful advice. Thank you for the wonderful stories. David, congratulations on almost graduating. Longsha, you have a while to go, but congratulations on getting married soon. But either way, this was an awesome podcast episode, and I'm sure the viewers will love it very much. And I guess we're out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Imagine the World, where we hear from inspiring members of the KHS community who are making significant contributions in their respective fields, challenging the status quo, and pushing the boundaries of what is possible as they imagine the world they want to see.
This podcast is sponsored by Knight-Hennessy Scholars at Stanford University, a multidisciplinary, multicultural graduate fellowship program providing scholars with financial support to pursue graduate studies at Stanford, while helping equip them to be visionary, courageous, and collaborative leaders who address complex challenges facing the world. Follow us on social media at Knight-Hennessy and visit our website at kh.stanford.edu to learn more about the program and our community.